Actually, I just want to clarify a couple things. I am the Director of Sustainability for ABI Food Systems at Kenyon College.
Oh.
And it is the Knox County Local Food Council. We try to kind of stay away from policy. That sounds too formal and governmental, you know. I want to talk.
Knox County? Knox County?
Food Council.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And basically, there is a distinction there because how do we define the Food Council? Boy, it's gone through a lot of changes from when it was first founded. I wasn't even on board when did it start? 2004? 2003. And basically, the idea was to just pull some people together that had something to do with food. So we were talking about producers, distributors, consumers of various types, and then just members at large. And the whole idea was, let's create some kind of critical mass to get something going here in Knox County. And one of the things that we did was, by virtue of the fact that it kind of started at Kenyon, but didn't kind of, it did. Howard put forth a lot of effort to get it started. We did a lot of educational type things. So the idea was, well, let's raise the awareness of where we are, where our food is coming from. We did some panels, we had students involved in preparation of these things. An educational homegrown thing came out of that. We also looked at infrastructure. It was a very exciting time actually when we thought that we could use the Buckeye Candy Building as a place for a local community area for food processing, for food consumption, bringing the community together perhaps in a space like this, which the thing is that this building looked almost as bad as that one did about the same period of time. This building was restored over the last 5 years, so it's come a long way. And this was the kind of thing we wanted to do with that building. The problem was there wasn't enough support as far as I could see. This is my take on it. We just ran short on support within the community of people who could actually visualize how can I take this old warehouse and turn it into something viable. That plus the fact that $1 million kind of stood between us and the realization of that kind of thing. So in the meantime, we kind of looked at other places. We looked at New Hope Industries as a possible place for this. But the whole gist of it is that we were looking for somewhere where we could get people together in the community to have space to process food and to share food type activities, whether that be a cafe, making food from canning or freezing, areas where we could eat together, places where we could store food, farmers could store food, and all those things sounded very great, but we could never really connect the dots between the consumers and the producers on that. We had several meetings, and one of the things that became very apparent was there was a lack of producers, actually. And this is something that I kind of want to address that now because I'm in a very unique position. I feel like every day I go out, I buy food for 1,600 people. And I take this almost as a parent would take it. I feel responsible for providing them with good food, and I want them to have something that enriches their lives as well as enriches the people from whom we buy the food. So that's a daunting task. If you've ever run to the market yourself just to buy for your own family, you can realize the trials and tribulations that you run through. Well, I do it for 1,600 people. And I try to do it as seriously as I possibly can, trying to get as much stuff locally as I possibly can. And it has proven this year, when I first showed up at the market, and we really got serious into buying things, I was out of Owl Creek. And I stood there and I said, there's not enough food here. There's just not enough food here. Where's all the food? We need more food. And what's happening is, and there's a couple things happening. One thing was last year was a bad year for farmers. It was a very bad year for growing. It was just a glut. And it was a bad year too because it was a cool year. So you had not as much yield, but you had more production in what people were consuming. This year, and this is a wonderful thing, a lot of awareness. People all over, from all walks of life, are looking at local food as something that's a viable thing. It's something they want to get into. It's something, well, we used to do that. My grandma used to do that, or whatever. And they can see a value in it, not only nutritionally, but from the community and all kinds of attributes. That's becoming a high awareness now. The problem is that we're running short on suppliers. This is from where I'm coming from, okay? Because I see it. And I know that I have to go out and dig harder to find the food, a lot harder than I used to. And it's kind of a scary thing to me. It's good on the one hand in the fact that we have people who are an increased desire for it. But I look back 2 years ago when we had our very high energy costs. And the cost of organic food, I don't know if anybody was paying attention to it, but we were paying attention to it at the food service because we look at bills all the time. The cost of conventional food was all of a sudden getting very close to local food and local organic food, which that has never happened. Well, it hasn't happened in anybody's recent memories. It happened maybe way back when we didn't call the food organic. But I mean, now that became a point where the balance almost tipped. And I wonder, well, what will happen the next time we get into a situation where there's a high demand for food and a high cost for fuel? And I think what's going to happen is we're going to find out that food prices can go up very dramatically. And one of the situations that I want to emphasize, and I don't want to preach doom and gloom here, that's not the goal. The purpose is that I just want to bring an awareness to you that what is happening is something that is good on one side in the fact that we have an increased demand. But we have to get some farmers out there who are willing to do this stuff. And we have to support them in ways that they can make a living. And one of the things is we have to be consistent in what we do. Problems with food services, problems with what we do. If I go out and say, I can't find any cherry tomatoes, what do? The natural thing is go on the internet, order it so it's there the next day, we got some cherry tomatoes. Now, one of the problems with that is that, what if I just found some cherry tomatoes and I come back and I say to my boss, oh, I just found some. Oh, that's okay, we already ordered them, they'll be here tomorrow. Now, I'm into this situation where my demand is being pushed back and tweaked because I'm drawing sources from someplace else. As long as I'm doing that, I'm almost like I got a foot on the boat and a foot on the dock kind of thing. I need to either be on the dock or in a boat. That's how I feel about it. Because if I make the commitment to the local food, then people are going to hear my need, they're going to respond to my need, but I can't be wishy-washy about it. And too often times, we as an institution, we as big, relatively large buyers, tend to be that way. We want it on our terms at our price. It has to go beyond the our terms, our price. It has to be over on their side. We have to jump in the boat with them and sail along on the journey because that's what it's going to take. And if we don't make that commitment, our farmers aren't going to be there. We have farmers this year, first year that I truly engaged farmers and could legitimately say, yes, I will buy X, Y, Z, and I will pay this much for it. He came up short. It wasn't me this time. He came up short. So that made me feel a little bit better. But the thing was that now I have to scrape around and try to find it. It's hard to find it at the auction. It's hard to find it at other places because you need to have people growing this for you. I need to have other people doing the same thing so there's a larger pool of consumers to meet a larger pool of demand. And it kind of balances itself out over those things of if a farmer has too much, he'll get frustrated because he can't get rid of it. If a consumer says, I can't find it, he'll get frustrated because he can't find it. But each year, the more consumers, the more producers, there has to be a balance. And as producers, I think we're the ones that go, as consumers, I think we're the ones that go first. We have to be willing to consume, and we have to be willing to take a conscious step and maybe make a sacrifice in what we're doing of time and money and everything else that we value. But we have to make a step in order to encourage them to be there when we need them. So let's swing back to the Food Council now. That's what we're trying to do, is to help people, enable people to do these kinds of things by bringing folks together within the Food Council. We draw people who are farmers. We draw people who are interested in Paul deals with the aged, the people who, the elderly people and how their food needs can be met. We have people from the schools. We have people who are from the farming community in general. Kelly comes from Owl Creek Produce Auction. So, and I encourage anybody in this room to come to our meetings, you know, get involved. The community gardens, that was one of the big things that we pushed. We just became a 501c3 organization, and we have the ability to do educational things. We have ability to do a festival. We could do anything as long as it's 501c3, you know, permissible. So that is one of the things I want to encourage you to do. Get involved in some way, even if you might just be a normal consumer. You're not buying for 1,600 people. But if you're just somebody who's really dedicated to this and can see the need for it, please consider coming to our meeting. Give me come by after the meeting. I'll give you some information, and we can get together and get you brought into the fold. So thank you.